people get a little squirrely and they think, oh, the robots are going to take over. And, there's some technology we're still working out, right? It's not perfect. But at the same time, I think if we can use AI and chatbots to answer questions in the right moment for the customer in the right way, that actually is one of those micro moments that builds trust.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Engati CX. I'm your host, Jeremy D'Souza, and today we have the wonderful Jeannie Walters with us on the show. But before we dive into the interview, let me just give you a quick introduction and introduce you to the magic of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual, no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, and the Engati Engage podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by Inc.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. Now, for our amazing guest. Jeannie Walters is the CEO and Chief Customer Experience Investigator of Experience Investigators by 360 Connect, a global customer experience consulting firm. She has 20 years experience in helping companies improve loyalty and retention, employee engagement, and overall customer experience. She was named one of the Huffington Post's top 100 social customer service pros on Twitter, Tenfold's top 40 customer success influencers, and one of the top 5 women customer experience influencers by CloudCherry. And her TEDx talk about micro moments, the small and often overlooked moments in the customer journey that matter, is one of Customer Thermometer's best TEDx talks on customer retention ideas. Jeannie, we're really, really thrilled to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
So, let's get started with this. But I have a tiny announcement for the audience. So we have something special for you, a gift of sorts, which we will give you after the interview gets done. So stick around. Jeannie, let's dive into this.
Okay.
The first question to you is, what are micro moments and how are they transforming customer experiences?
I define micro moments as those tiny moments that are often overlooked on a customer journey. And a lot of talk around customer experience, we really focus on those big, huge, amazing moments that, we call them wow moments or extraordinary or all these things. And those are all really important and great. But I think if we would pay more attention to these moments that maybe don't force somebody to make a decision in that moment, they might not say, oh, I'm never going to work with this company again based on one micro moment. But if they have several negative micro moments, that chips away at the trust with the company. Yeah. So you have an opportunity with a micro moment to either build trust or erode trust. But you have to be aware of them and you have to really look for them in the journey.
So essentially, it's a series of tiny moments which add up to a bigger picture.
Yep, that's exactly right. And it's, a lot of times I talk about error messages or 404 pages or these things that sometimes are kind of seen as throwaway, like we don't really have to worry about them. And yet if we put in a little effort, if we put in a little humor or a little moment of delight, that's memorable then. And that becomes something that's not a moment of neglect, but a moment of care and empathy and compassion with a customer for where they are in the journey.
Absolutely. If you're gonna put them in like a situation which is gonna annoy them, at least try to amuse them a bit.
Right. That's right.
Up for them.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. So my next question for you is, you talk a lot about creating your customer experience mission. Mm-hmm. What are the key elements that one should consider while creating the CX mission, and how does technology play a role in that?
That's an interesting question because I think a lot of times when we talk about mission statements, corporate mission statements tend to be focused on the inside out. So a lot of times they say things like, we're going to be best in class, or we want to provide shareholder value. And none of that really talks about the customer and what the experience is that we want to promise them. And so the best organizations in the world, the ones that are really focused on customer experience, their corporate mission statements do talk about service and this attitude of what is the experience that we want to deliver. And so often we are in situations where maybe there's a corporate mission and it doesn't really reflect that customer experience that we want, but we're not in a position to necessarily change that. So, what I encourage leaders to do, whether you're a leader of a department or a leader of a division, or you're your own personal customer experience change agent and you're passionate about this, create a customer experience mission that really helps people grab on to the spirit of the experience that you're trying to deliver. What is most important, and make decisions based on that. So in my organization, the mission of my company is to create fewer ruined days for customers. And that sounds so simple, but we all know it's not, right? But it helps us by using that mission. It actually helps us make decisions on things like which clients we work with and who we hire and how we deliver. So it helps us really connect with, okay, are we really living our mission by doing this? And that's the part that we really need to connect to as well, is that shorthand. Like, it can't be 18 bullet points and 45 paragraphs. We have to really get into who are we and how can we deliver on this. And as far as how technology supports that, I think there are so many ways where when we are making decisions about technology, it's so easy to get excited by the shiny new thing, right? And everybody says, oh my gosh, we have to do this. A couple years ago, it was everybody needed an app, right? Every single organization in the world thought we need a mobile app. And then when you really looked at it, you were like, no, you don't. Like, you might not need an app. You might just need to, develop a better mobile site because that's what people are going to use it for.
Yeah.
But if you have that mission, that can help guide decisions around the technology so that it's really about the experience and not just that shiny new tool.
Absolutely. And yeah, there definitely were too many apps. I'm not going to have an app for every business which I deal with on my phone.
I know. And then I think I heard a couple of years ago, people waited 48 hours. And if they didn't get value out of that app, they deleted the app because they didn't want their phone to get bogged up. Yeah. Now that's even a shorter time frame because none of us have, the room on our phones that we want, and we don't want it cluttering up our home screen. So we really rely on a select group of apps. And if, there has to be real value there. And I think it got a little crazy.
So essentially, the whole point of your customer experience mission is to define what you want your customers to feel, what experiences you want to put them through, and then craft everything around them. Then you choose your technologies around that. Instead of just saying that I see this technology, it looks fun to me, so I'm just going to pick that one up and run with it.
Right. That's exactly right. And there are some really jarring examples of like a corporate mission versus a customer mission. And one of my favorite ones, there's an airline here in the United States, Southwest Airlines, and they're known for their service. And when you look at their mission statement, it doesn't mention planes. It mentions that they are doing something with this, they call it the company spirit. And those are both capitalized because that's something that they want everybody to identify. We're going to deliver service with the company spirit. And I just love that because it's really talking about each interaction with a customer, whether that's face-to-face or through technology or, if you're on the plane, every single interaction is looked at with that view. And I think that's so important.
Yeah. Southwest has some really good thoughts about customer experience. They always come up.
They do. I know. There's a handful of companies that always come up, right?
Absolutely. Okay. So next question to you is, how can companies plan and align various touch points in the customer's journey so that it's smooth for the customer?
Well, I'm a big fan of tools like journey mapping. I think that can be a really effective way to help everybody get themselves into that customer mindset to really walk through the experience from that customer's perspective. I think a lot of people think they're journey mapping when they're really doing process maps. We often organize a customer's journey based on an org chart. So we say things like, well, then they go to marketing and then they go to sales. And to a customer, that's not their experience. They are thinking about, oh, I'm looking at this company and I'm trying to solve a need. And then, well, the sales process was really cumbersome and it stunk, but I'm going to give them another chance. Like, we have to really get into that mindset, and journey mapping can really help us do that. But I think when you're looking for micro moments, part of it is you have to have this radar up throughout your organization where everybody in the organization understands that, we're not going to let something go we're not going to say like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. Nobody will notice that, because somebody will always notice it. And the other thing I talk about there is that, if you are doing something inside your organization that you think your customers won't see, forget it. They will see it eventually. And just recently, I was going to pick up a rental car at an airport. And I have, status. I'm part of their loyalty program. And there was just one thing after another for this one time where they didn't have my name on the board. I had to go to the kiosk. The guy gave me the keys and said it's in like Rosie, spot 350. Like I had to walk all the way across the garage. And then I got there and there was this little yellow card on the driver's seat. And it said low priority.
Oh my God.
And they were talking about the car because it said wash and let rest. And so I looked at it and I just thought that just sums up everything that I felt today. And they didn't think I was going to see that. They thought, somebody was supposed to remove that before I got to the car, I'm sure. But it's just a perfect example of if you're not really living that customer experience in everything you do, including these micro moments, including on the inside of your organization, then customers will see that and they will see it as inauthentic and they will start feeling like they can't trust that brand that they built a relationship with. So there are all sorts of ways to do it, but I'm a big fan of journey mapping and really just walking through that experience as much as you can and keeping that lens of, okay, if a customer saw this, how would they feel? And can we improve it? Because a lot of times it's a word, right? Like if we can change an error message to say like, we know what you're doing and we're going to help you through it, instead of those error messages that basically just say error and they give you no option to do anything. We have to look for moments like that and make sure we correct them for the customer.
So another thing which I think could help with the entire handing off between departments is that when you actually create and craft that specific defined customer experience mission, everyone in your company gets behind it, right? They know what they're supposed to do.
Yes, that's exactly right. And one of the questions I always get from leaders, they say things like, well, we know our customer facing people, our customer service people and our account reps and all those, they're really good at this. But how do we get our accounting department on board? How do we get our delivery people on board who don't see themselves as customer facing? And I think the best customer experience missions really do have the ability to get everybody on board.
Yeah.
And there's a really famous story from when the U.S. was trying to get the first man on the moon. They were, in the space race in the 60s. And President Kennedy was walking through NASA where they were building the rockets and everything. And he saw a custodian painting the wall. And he said, "What are you doing?" And the custodian said, "I'm sending a man to the moon." Because he understood that he was part of that. He was part of that bigger mission. And I think that is such a perfect example. That's what we want. We want people to be all in, that we are all part of this, delivering on this mission on behalf of our customers.
Yeah, they should all feel included in that mission.
Yep.
I love that.
Exactly right.
Okay, my next question is more tech-oriented. How can AI, chatbots, and tech in general be used to create better customer experiences? And how can they be roped in to craft, better and more meaningful micro engagements too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am so excited about the future of this technology. I think it's really exciting to think that we will be able to serve people on a scale that in the past was just something we couldn't do. So there are so many ways that like AI and chatbots can provide the right answers in the right way for customers in the right moment. And I think that's one of the ways that we sometimes, people get a little squirrely and they think, oh, the robots are going to take over. And, there's some technology we're still working out, right? It's not perfect. But at the same time, I think if we can use AI and chatbots to answer questions in the right moment for the customer in the right way, that actually is one of those micro moments that builds trust. So it's not about, taking over completely. There are certain things that humans have to be involved with.
Yeah.
And so what I love about this is if you reserve those bigger problems, challenges that customers have for actual humans who aren't sitting there answering, here's how you log in. It looks like you're having trouble, all these things that a chatbot could do.
Yeah.
Then you're using the humans in the right way. And the technology is actually supporting that human to human interaction too. So I think that there's so much potential around this, but the way that I think we're really excelling at it right now today is using those chatbots to answer those simple questions in the right moment. There's no waiting if it's done right. There's no it feels like you are put in the journey in the right place. Now, I think where we have to go with this is make sure that every journey is seamless, because I know right now sometimes people interact with chatbots and it doesn't work and they say this is not working, and then they get sent to a human and the human has no history of that chat. And so we need to work on things like that to make it seamless for the customer, but I think there's tons of potential there.
Yeah, that really makes sense. And well, as far as not having the history up, that's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So,
it is.
We've actually noticed that ourselves. So our portal actually has this place where if the customer is sent off to an agent, the agent can access the entire conversation history, so they don't have to ask the customer the same question every single time.
That's so important. It really is. Because anybody who's gone through that, it's, you think that you're making progress, then you're not. Then they act like you're asking it for the first time, and it's like, no, I just had this whole conversation. So I think it's so important to honor that people are in the journey where they are and really respect that.
Yeah. And another thing about the humans only handling the more complicated questions is, I think that if the chatbots are handling the smaller ones, the more monotonous ones, in addition to the customers getting the answers faster, I think the humans will be less frustrated and they'll actually deal with the customers with more empathy.
I totally agree with that. And when these bots first started kind of showing up, a lot of it was around like hospitality, and hotels were using them, where you could get the bot on your phone and say, when, are there towels at the pool? Things like that. And they actually asked some of the front desk clerks about how that was affecting them. And they all said that. They all said, you know what, it's great because I'm not answering the phone, for these silly questions that people just need answers to quickly. And yet at the same time, that means that they can address the people who are at the desk, they're not being distracted and all those things. So I think it's really valuable.
Absolutely. Jeannie, do you have any other thoughts that you'd like to share with the audience?
I mean, I think customer experience people are inherently curious and empowered to do the right thing. And I think that's really a special group of people. So I just want to give everybody like a shout out on that and give yourself a pat on the back, because customers really do rely on these brands that you work with to deliver things they need for their lives. And I don't think we should overlook that. I think sometimes we act like it's this, nice to have, and customer experience is absolutely something that we should focus on, especially at this time and in these coming years. So just, thank you for all you do, all you awesome customer experience people.
Absolutely, definitely. Here's a salute to everyone who's working. Everyone who's working on customer experience, especially during these frustrating times.
Yep. It's very true. Yeah. But I'm always inspired by people too. And I think everybody's looking for the best way to serve people. And so as long as we can keep that lens, we're going to do okay.
Yeah, that makes like perfect sense, Jeannie. Thank you so much for giving us all of your time, your energy, and your brilliant insights.
Thank you.
They're really valuable. And I know the audience is definitely 100% going to enjoy this interview and get a lot of value out of it. Jeannie, if they want to reach out to you, they really need to go on your Twitter and your LinkedIn, right? They really need to smash that follow button and connect with you.
That's right. You can find me at experienceinvestigators.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I have several courses on LinkedIn Learning as well. And, Twitter, I'm everywhere. You can find me. But I love hearing from people. So feel free to reach out and connect on LinkedIn or wherever.
Yeah, don't be shy. Just reach out to her. She's
That's right.
really good. She'll be able to help you out with whatever you need related to customer experience. Okay, guys, since you've stuck around for so long, we're really excited to announce that our ebook, The Evolution of Customer Experience, is out. It's available for you to download it for free, that too. So check the link in the description for some details on that. We'll be back with a new episode and a new expert very soon. So stay tuned, and we'll see you around for the next one, guys.